What does it mean to safely adopt AI across an organization? We're going to explore that in depth today. But every organization's adoption of AI has its own wrinkles, its own difficulties, its own challenges, and sometimes its own steps. But that doesn't mean every organization has to start from scratch and reinvent the wheel and figure out how to do things anew. At WSI, we've put a lot of work on trying to figure out the best approach to adopting AI across organizations. We've created something called the AI Adoption Roadmap. That roadmap is not exacting steps that we follow one right after the other all the time, but it's really just a group of steps that are customized and executed specifically for each company. So when we look at different companies, we were going to go through the same type of step, but we may do things slightly different. And that's the value of having the AI roadmap to follow. So for each organization, we kind of break things down into governance and planning, education and personnel issues, including culture, and building out and technology adoption, and lastly, long-term support. The reason we start with planning and governance issues is that while it's possible to start adopting AI and start using it into the organization, a lot of times there are governance concerns that are ignored or overlooked if you do things that way. So we like to try to spend some time getting the lay of the land, understanding the organization, understanding what its regulatory environment is, understanding how big the organization is, understanding just how complex its current data processing environment is, understanding its customers, its vendors, and its internal structure. Once you know all of those things, you can scope out what it's going to take for the organization to actually adopt AI. Given that, we can do some planning and put together some steps that make sense for the organization. The second part of what we like to do is merely pay attention to the culture of the organization and the employees that are already there and try to build some adoption and interest from bottom up and top down and even in the middle. So we like to talk to all of the executives and the leadership and make sure they understand what the AI adoption is going to mean, make sure they have fully committed to what we're about to do, and that they understand the risks, they understand the benefits, and they understand how we're going to be measuring success. They also understand how we're going to be working with different parts of the organization, as well as understanding how the regulatory environment is going to affect what we have to do. We also like to go out and find what employees have an interest in AI and maybe have been looking to integrate it into what they do every day. So we can build kind of an AI enthusiast club within the organization so that we have a conduit for sharing information both up, down, and up. So we know what's happening with AI in the organization, and we have some people who can go out into the different departments and make sure that what we have decided to do and what we're trying to accomplish with AI is actually getting implemented at the department level. Additionally to that, we like to get all of the department management on board so they know what's going on. So building out a culture and kind of an internal AI users group helps us build AI adoption confidence and AI adoption enthusiasm throughout the entire organization. Another cultural item that we like to do is bring everybody up to the same level of AI knowledge. In most organizations, you have some people who know a lot and a lot of people who know just a little bit and a subset of people who've buried their head in the sand and just don't know nothing. Our goal is to bring everybody in the organization up to the same level so everybody in the organization has the same level of AI literacy, and we can build off of that. The next step in education is to determine the specific AI tools we're going to use and help people develop AI specialties and deep knowledge in those areas Now, not everybody within an organization is going to need to have the same deep level of understanding and mastery of the same tools. And so we like to have a custom education plan for the folks who are going to have those deep mastery needs. The next step is actually taking what we've learned and all of our plans of putting them into practice. So we normally look for some small wins, like building custom GPTs or doing a small automation to kind of get everybody interested in what's happening, kind of prove out some of our concepts, and make sure that the organization has a way of measuring return on investment and ways of seeing simplifications in processes and improvements in quality. So when we do some of these small projects, we really can see, are we measuring properly? Are we actually have ways to measure what we thought was going to happen as far as quality goes? So it's very important before you start making wholesale changes and deciding that you know how you're going to calculate things or how you're going to do measurement, that you do a little bit of testing of those approaches to make sure that they are actually going to work for you at the end of the projects. Then we like to have some bigger projects, and when we do the initial planning, we ask a lot of questions about the structure of the organization, the applications that are being used. We do an application inventory, and all of that comes into play when we plan out the projects that we do. So we like to implement projects that have some real decisive wins for the organization, but don't have scopes that are entirely too large. As the organization gets more confidence, completes more projects, and starts to become more productive, those larger projects start to become possible, and they start getting put on the plan, and we start executing those. And that's when we get into the long-term support of the organization. The organization has built up some confidence. It knows how it's going to measure its return on investment. It knows how it's going to evaluate its quality, is ready to start taking on larger projects. And that's where it starts needing some bigger and deeper resources. So it may need specialized training, it may need specialized skills to assist, and it may need some additional hands on deck to actually do some of the work. And at WSI, that's where we specialize in being able to support organizations when they really start to scale up their AI adoption and really hit the ground running. So, in summary, AI adoption safety really falls into 4 categories: planning and governance, education and culture, technical and execution, and ongoing support. Those are all areas where we can help you put together a plan and make sure your AI adoption is successful. I'm Marty Milligan. Please, if you need some help, click the link below, get on my calendar, and we'll have a discussion about your AI adoption needs. Also, if you're contemplating an AI adoption and you want some idea of what other businesses are doing, we did a survey of small businesses to see how their AI adoption is going and what they're actually doing with AI, and you can find a link to that free study down below as well. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you taking the time with me, and tune in next time for something else. I'm sure we'll have some more AI discussions coming along shortly. Like and subscribe, and you'll be the first to know. Thanks, everybody.